Jobs are back, but prices are still too high. COVID is down, but gas prices are up. Our work isn't done. But here's the deal. America still has a choice to make. A choice between a government by the few, for the few, or a government for all of us.
President Biden reassured Americans he is prioritizing his inflation. His message: Republicans in Congress are doing everything they can to stop his plans to bring costs to families down. But Politico is pointing this out, quote, with the midterms rapidly approaching, voters' patience appears to be running out, and Biden and Democrats are poised to pay the political price. So let's discuss. With us tonight, two experts from states having primaries tonight. Former Senator Heidi Heitkamp. As North Dakota's first elected female senator, she served on the Senate Banking Committee, and she's also the founder of the One Country Project, a group that helps rural communities. And let's also welcome MSNBC political analyst John Ralston. He's the CEO of the Nevada Independent, covering politics in that state for more than 30 years. Heidi, we've got to start with inflation. It is a huge issue. And the truth is, the president can't do that much. The only tool we really have is the Federal Reserve. They're going to announce their rate hike tomorrow. But here's the thing. A big, fast rate hike is going to help us recover sooner. But if you have a really big hike, that causes immediate pain. What's worse for the Biden administration?
Well, Stephanie, you're not old enough to remember the Volcker time, the recession's coming, the recession's coming. This is exactly the situation that Jimmy Carter was in, basically wanting to make the corrections that needed to be made to curtail inflation. But you risk the recession, and you risk basically pouring a lot of cold water on an economy. And so, you know, this is a tough deal for the president. Unfortunately, if there is a mistake, denying that inflation was going to be a problem over 6 months ago is probably something that the administration wishes wasn't on their record. And you know, and I know, a lot of what's driving all of these costs are high energy costs. And those are so difficult when you're looking at whether it is electrical rates, which are going up dramatically, especially when the heat's at 100, whether it is, in fact, gas prices or natural gas prices. We're in a very high energy economy, cost economy right now, and that's going to make it very, very difficult to curtail inflation.
Okay, but then, Heidi, President Biden is planning to go to Saudi Arabia to address oil and gas next month. And there are a lot of Democrats angry with him because it's Saudi Arabia, who has committed all sorts of atrocities. Is it the right practical move for Biden to go there? Yes, we wish we were completely independent, but it's not like we can turn the spigot on here and produce. And we need these prices to go down tomorrow. Is he making the right move talking to Saudi Arabia next month?
Well, I don't know that he's making the right move, making it such a public discussion. I remember when President Trump...
Well, he's not going in secret.
Well, I know, but I remember when President Trump went hat in hand to try and get the Saudis to basically curtail production because oil prices had collapsed and the oil industry was suffering as a result of it. And so, you know, we cannot ignore the huge impact that OPEC has on energy prices. But by the same token, the message to the American domestic producers needs to be more consistent. And I think it's very difficult when you have a very progressive wing that does not want to deal with domestic production, wants to curtail domestic production, investment in infrastructure in domestic production, and then turns around and says, but we don't want you dealing with a dictator. We've got to have an energy policy that is pro-climate, but it doesn't necessarily have to be anti-natural gas and anti-oil.
John, COVID devastated Nevada's economy. I mean, your unemployment number was big than the national average. The economic recovery has been slower there than the rest of the country. So when you look at voters going out in your state, is the economy their number one issue?
I think it is, Stephanie, and it's very difficult because, as you mentioned, we were so far down that we have come back a long way, and that is what the Democrats, including the governor who is up this year as a Democrat, Steve Sisolak, have been trying to tell people. But, you know, you talk about all politics being local, people feel it in their local pocketbook, right? And so they don't necessarily buy that argument. So Biden's numbers are terrible here. He is being blamed for a lot of this. And so the Republicans here are tying the governor and every other Democrat to the problems in the Nevada economy, which, of course, as you alluded to, Stephanie, they're worse than most places because we're still a one-trick pony with everything reliant on that few miles called Las Vegas Boulevard South or the Las Vegas Strip.
But are those Republicans offering a different economic solution? I get it. Things are really painful right now, and Biden's the guy in the White House. But come November, the issues that plague our economy, supply chain issues in China, the war in Ukraine, they're not going away. So what are Republicans offering other than don't vote for Biden? He's a stinker.
Oh, you want substance now in a political campaign this cycle,
crazy.
Stephanie. Okay. Listen, of course they have no answers, and they're experts in 2020 hindsight, and they see an opportunity here. The so-called red wave is coming, and so they're going to use whatever shibboleth they can think of to try to pound the Democrats for being responsible for this, and they have no ideas of their own, mostly at the top of the ticket, too, by the way, when you talk about the gubernatorial race, you talk about the U.S. Senate race here, which you know is pivotal, Stephanie. Catherine Cortez Masto is considered one of the more vulnerable senators, and they are tying her to Biden. But of course, they are not presenting any kind of alternatives to fix the economy because, you know, that would entail them actually presenting a substantive debate. I don't see that happening, although those of us in the media here are trying.
Well, they always say it's the economy, stupid. What would be smart would be to offer an actual economic solution. Heidi, talk to us about North Dakota. What am I saying? Trump won your state by 35 points, more than 35 points. It's not a question of will the state go red? Does North Dakota need to go Trump red? These hearings aren't good for him. Are people in North Dakota watching?
You know, I think people make the mistake and think that people in North Dakota like Donald Trump. A lot of them didn't like Donald Trump. They didn't like how he behaved. They didn't like the lies, but they did pretty well in the Trump years. And so they said, look, I don't like him, but I like his policies. And that's really kind of the hill that Biden has to climb. You know, they like him personally, or liked him a lot more before, but they don't like his policies. And they blame him because they looked at their 401k when Donald Trump was president. They looked pretty good. They looked at the gas prices when Donald Trump was president, looks pretty good. And you know, I know it's a lot more complicated than that.
You could say that when Barack Obama was president and they didn't feel good about him.
Right. But you know, Stephanie, I want to point something out that doesn't get enough national coverage. The races that I'm watching right now in North Dakota are races for the school board. We've had a couple attempts at recall elections, people wanting to ban books, people wanting to bring a whole different dynamic to schools, really curtail teachers. And we're not seeing those people getting reelected or getting elected to school board positions. We aren't seeing the city elections going completely red and pro-Trump. So I think we need to be a little more nuanced in how we look at a lot of our states like mine and look at where the victories are. And I think tonight there's a school board election up in Grand Forks, North Dakota. That's really a victory for common sense and a victory for what I think are North Dakota values, not Trump values.
Heidi, my mom was my school board president for years and years. I have always got time to talk about those elections. Heidi Heitkamp, John Ralston, thank you for joining us tonight. I really appreciate it.